Hey guys, EverDudgeon138 here. Just wanted to do a quick video update. I haven't really done one of these in quite a while. I think the last time I did one, Sequential was purchased by Focusrite, and I was also talking about the new Take 5 synth. I think that was the case, but just haven't really been in the studio that much. Just been focusing on other things, but I just wanted to kind of touch base on a couple things here in regards to synthesizers and music, and also this channel in general. I think this channel is going to be changing its content, or at least some of its content in the near future. And I'll get to that a little bit later. But first and foremost, congratulations to Tom Oberheim and Dave Smith on the OBX8. It looks and sounds fantastic. And it's one of those moments where I kind of wish my dad was still around, because he had, I think it was an OBX8 he had. I can't recall. I know he had, it was a polyphonic Oberheim. I know he had that, and I know it was an OB. But I can't recall the exact model. And he also had a Prophet 5 as well. And I know that if he was around and he saw that announcement, I mean, we would have a Prophet 5, Rev 4, and an OBX8 in this studio, and he would be having a blast with it. Just because, I mean, that's what he played. And part of me is kind of like thinking that the OBX8 really is sort of the evolution of the OB line. It's not necessarily a reissue or anything like that, like the Prophet 5 and 10 Rev 4s were. I know that with the Rev 4s, I mean, they added aftertouch and velocity, but I mean, that's like saying that, oh, we added MIDI. I don't get excited about that. Regardless, I mean, those synths sound fantastic, but I just think with the OBX8, it's literally a compendium of all the OB synths that you can mix and match with new features and the whole page 2 functionality. And I think they threw in some of the old 4-voice filter modes and everything like that. So it's really the ultimate Oberheim synth, if that's the sound you're going for. Personally, I've never really been fond of the OB lines or anything like that, because my background is more soundtrack music, as you know, and I don't think there was any soundtracks that really had an OB synth as its main synthesizer. I mean, everything was almost always a Prophet 5, or if there was like an OB, it was played next to a Prophet, or a DX7 or anything, or something like that. For example, Nightmare on Elm Street, Charles Bernstein's score had OBX8 that was just droning away in the background while a Pro 1 and a DX7 played over top. What else? Brad Fidel's score for Terminator, the first Terminator, it was an OBX8 and also a Prophet 10, double keyboard Prophet 10. And an emulator one as well. So it was always kind of next to a Prophet. I thought for the longest time Rob Walsh's score for Revenge of the Ninja was an OBX8, a DMX drum machine, and a Les Paul guitar, and that was his whole setup. Reading the liner notes, he says that he borrowed his friend's Prophet 5 as well. So there you go. I don't know if he also did it for his score for Young Warriors, but regardless, most of the time, Oberheim synths on soundtracks were SEMs. They were 2 voices or 4-voice SEM synths. They weren't really the OB line at all. And part of me does hope that Tom. I'm very happy that he's around. That he has seen his brand get reborn, and to see the OBX8 come to fruition. I'm very happy about that. But I think I'm more happy and more curious what the future holds for the brand. Is it going to just be a one and done and that's it? I hope not. I hope that we see the 2-voice Pro go into production again. I hope that we see a successor to the 4-voice. I don't want necessarily a reissue of those. I want to see improvements on that. I know with the 2-voice Pro there was improvements on the original 2-voice, but with the 4-voice, I mean, I would love to see something like a 4-voice with patch memory or something like that, as opposed to just trying to dial, 4 synthesizers in manually. But regardless, I'm very happy for him, and I'm very curious to see what really curious to see what Sequential comes up with next. Because I mean, like I said in my last video, since the Focusrite purchase, it might be that Sequential and Oberheim are just delegated to vintage analog reissues, or just analog gear in general, and there'll be no wavetables, there'll be no samples, there'll be no FM or anything like that. And I think that's kind of a shame, because I was watching a really good video about the polyevolver. Oops, the polyevolver, and I can really tell that Dave just went nuts with that thing, and he just put and he really was experimenting and with different types of synthesis and just kind of incorporate it into this one beautiful instrument. I don't have an interest in getting a polyevolver. The 4 voices are kind of, it's a little bit limiting compared to the gear I have now. I would love to see a successor to that. And I thought the Pro 3 is kind of a hint. The fact that there's 2 VCOs and a wavetable oscillator in one synthesizer. I would love to see a polyphonic version of that, especially if it had 2 wavetable oscillators in there. But with the Focusrite purchase, I don't know if that'll happen. And, you know, because like I said in the last video, Novation's also a factor, right? Like, is Focusrite going to let Sequential do this while Novation is also doing the Summit and the Peak? Is it going to take away from that? It's too early to tell, but it'll be very interesting to kind of see going forward what happens. And it's interesting because on the Sequential forums, there's really a push for reissues, and they want Tom Oberheim to do a Matrix reissue. They want a Pro 1 reissue, and part of me is just kind of like, and it really bothered me because I thought, because I love the Prophet X, I love the Tempest, I love the Prophet 6. I want to see kind of the evolution of synthesizers, which kind of brings me to my next point. The great Vangelis is no longer with us. He has gone to the great beyond, and I've always been a fan of his. And I think everybody who's touched a synthesizer has been a fan of his. I mean, Chariots of Fire is one of the most beautiful pieces of music ever written. And he proved to everyone that you don't have to know how to read or write music in order to compose a beautiful piece of art. I mean, obviously music theory helps and everything like that, but I mean, his body of work is going to transcend and outlive all of us in terms of just how good it is and how memorable it is and how beautiful it is. I'm not a huge fan of Blade Runner at all, the movie. The soundtrack I like, a couple tracks I like. For the most part, I'm not a huge fan of the soundtrack, but I think his score for Missing is one of his best soundtracks. But I saw a recent picture of Vangelis, and it's interesting because he wasn't using any vintage gear, and he wasn't, that I know, using any plugins. All his gear was all modern synthesizers. It was a Moog 1, a Poly Brute, a Matrix Brute, a Hydrasynth, and a Chord Wave State, and I think there was another synthesizer. It might have been an Op6, I'm not sure. But I always thought Vangelis used electronic gear and electronic music, and he was really always pushing the bounds of what these instruments can do and what these instruments are capable of, and he was always kind of championing the evolution of synthesizers in general. And I think it's kind of an interesting kind of, I think Bo Beats even mentioned this, that he wasn't a fan of vintage synthesizers or classic analog synthesizers or anything like that. which is kind of interesting because there seems to be kind of a divide in the synth community where a lot of people just love these classic reissues and that's all they want. I saw somebody demanding a Jupiter 8 reissue, and I'm like, well, wouldn't you want the next evolution of the Jupiter, like the Jupiter 10? Like, it can still be analog, but maybe with more LFOs or sequencers. Like, no, I just want the, I just want the reissue. And it's like, do you also want it without MIDI? Like how far do you want to go with a reissue? And there's on the other side of that, it's just, people want to see kind of the evolution of synthesizers. I mean, look at the Polybrew, like the ability to have a morphing analog synthesizer to morph from one sound to another. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, even the Moog 1 and all its capabilities, it's really wild to see Moog do like the Sub 37 and the Moog 1, but then go back and do synths without patch memory, like the Matriarch and the Grandmother and everything like that. So it just seems to be this kind of weird, kind of conflicting momentum where it's just like, let's go to the past, and then no, let's keep moving to the future, and it's a weird dynamic. And I've always, and part of me is kind of like, God, if I just get the Rev 4 and the OBX8 and just have the S2400 as my main drum machine, would I be happy? Would that be it? Because I've kind of been self-reflecting, like, why did I even get into music? I've always been obviously a fan of music growing up with a musical father and everything, but I've always like, why did I get into synthesizers? And it was because of film soundtracks. And my girlfriend pointed out that, you're on the synth forums and you're kind of championing, like, you're kind of championing like moving forward with new technology and new techniques, and you're kind of downplaying like the classic synthesizers, or telling people like, no, like reissues, come on, we need to move forward. Meanwhile, I have one of the last Mitchell BNC 35mm motion picture cameras with a rackover system, and I want to shoot a movie on that, and I want to shoot on film, and not only on film, I want to shoot on black and white film, and I'm like, God, I'm such a hypocrite. And it kind of made me pause and wonder. I'm like, God, like, what am I, why am I focusing so much on synthesizers and spending this much energy on synth forums and gear and this? I did, when I started this channel, it was really just to kind of do it for my mental health and just kind of express myself. I don't have a Patreon. I don't sell patches. I don't do any of that. I know people have said, you should go, do something like that, like some of the John Carpenter patches or Prophet X patches. And I'm like, that's not why I do this. I do it because it's just an expression, and it's just a hobby. I don't, and I've been fortunate enough to be in contact with directors who asked me to score their movies and stuff like that, and I'm very thankful and everything. But this isn't my only interest, and I've really been kind of losing focus on some of the things that other things that I'm interested in. I like to write, I like to draw, I like to collect movies and movie memorabilia, and I want to make movies, and I haven't really been putting the effort or the time. I mean, obviously with the whole pandemic and everything like that, things kind of took a pause, but there are other channels out there, such as one I really recommend everybody, Serial at Midnight, which it's a gentleman by the name of Heath, and he basically shows and discusses new film releases on physical media. You guys can't see it here, but there are literally piles of vinyl records and Blu-rays and box sets and books, and this is all stuff that I purchased over the last year, and I'm just I'm getting new shelves so I can actually put them up and everything in my apartment, and so I've just been storing them here, but it's like, God, I don't even talk about this stuff. On this channel, I don't talk about, the whole Doris Wishman box set with its missing scenes and that whole fiasco. I don't talk about how Kino Lorber's putting out some of the Mario Bava titles and comparing that with their Arrow video releases and 88 Films releases. I don't do that, and maybe I should. Maybe I should do unboxing videos. I order a lot from UK labels like Indicator and 88 and Arrow, and I have a UK postal box, and I also have a US postal box, and once I order everything, and actually it helps me save on shipping and everything, but once everything goes into the PO box, that I basically have that company, which is myusa.com, highly recommend them. They ship it to me in a bulk order with all the releases, and I just did an unboxing with my girlfriend the other night, and it's just like, just seeing all the movies and everything and some of the posters I got, and it's just like, I want to share that with you guys, and I want to talk about some of this stuff, and it's like, I don't know why I'm focusing so much on synthesizers and worrying about, oh man, why can't sequential do this? And is it gonna? I don't want sequential to do this, and why is it reissues, or maybe I should do the reissues? And I'm focusing so much energy on that it's just like, am I just wasting my focus on things that really are not that important? I mean, I have a great setup right now, and I've done a lot with it. Yeah, I mean, I still would like a Pro 3, and I still hope that there's some other gear and everything that comes that I'm interested in, but I shouldn't be obsessed with it, and I shouldn't be focusing on it too much when there's other things that I have an interest in. And I want to talk about that motion picture camera that I have. I want to talk about some of the film stuff I want to do, and I really think that that's what I'm going to do going forward with this channel. I'm still going to do music. I'm going to post a track probably after this. I've actually synced up the Tempest with the S2400, and I'm going to kind of be doing a little jam with everything, with all my gear. But really, I really want to kind of focus on other things. And music to me was always just a hobby, and I've just been focusing so much on it that everything else has kind of gone to the side or just kind of been put away, and I don't like that, especially because I think that I have more to say about this stuff than I do synthesizers. I don't know. I'm kind of at a crossroads when it comes to music and everything like that. Like I said, I don't have a Patreon. I don't do any of this stuff. I just do this for my mental health, and I also want to continue on doing things for my mental health. And that means talking about movies, and that means talking about all this stuff. And I would love to have a face-to-face conversation with people and talk about new releases and kind of compare them and everything, like whether it's my friend or my girlfriend or whoever, and just or anybody that's a fan of this channel and follows me. I appreciate everybody's support, and I'd love to talk to you guys about movies and music and whatever you want to talk about. And I really want this channel just to be more than me posting a track every week, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to do music. I've been doing music all night. Was up till 3 a.m. last night doing stuff, But I think, I'm at a point now where I'm like, okay, if Sequential comes out with like a hybrid synth, cool, yeah, I'll get it. But I'm not going to be biting my fingernails and kind of frothing at the mouth for it, because it's like, I have a great setup as it is. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's okay. And maybe that should be my focus, because it's just like, because it's a rabbit hole, and you get so gear acquisition syndrome is a real thing, and I mentally have it, but I'm thankful that I don't physically have it, if that makes sense, because I'm not actually going out and buying all this stuff. I'd like to try it out and that'd be interesting to kind of incorporate, System 8 into this setup. But if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And, I know with the whole chip shortage and everything like that, there's debates of like whether things are going into production and whatnot. Now's the best time just to be like, you know what? You guys sort everything out. It's okay. And focus on other stuff and just be happy with what you have. And so yeah, I just want to kind of do an update on that. And I know this is kind of rambling and everything, but I think going forward, I'm going to start doing different videos, different kinds of videos. I haven't even done a video talking about my favorite movies. I haven't done a video talking about any of that or the new releases or anything. And it's like, I want to, and I think I am going to do that going forward, because I love music, but it's not my first love, and it's not, film has always been my first love, and I've kind of been neglecting it a lot. And as the late great Owen Hart once said, enough is enough, and it's time for a change. So yeah, so this channel is going to change going forward. And like I said, if you guys are interested in the synthesizer stuff and music stuff, and don't worry, I'm still going to do it. You're just going to be seeing other types of content on here. So I appreciate everybody, and forgive me for rambling, but I'm going to go work on the track right now, and I'm going to do a video on that in just a little bit, okay? You guys have a wonderful day. Love you all. See you later.